Good morning, my beauties. Wherever you are in the world today, I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of A Crystal Clear Mind. And today I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by the lovely Rae Calnan. Hi, Ray.
Hello, thank you for having me. And we've got a little bit of sun here, not a lot, but a
I
bit.
was going to say the same. You can kind of see it a little bit coming through the window behind me. Like, I've got sunshine. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I mean we're in the UK, obviously, to everyone that's out there in the world otherwise. And we are being promised an amazingly sunny few days ahead. Honestly, the Brits are kind of going a bit gaga at the moment because we just cannot believe that we've got sunshine and a bank holiday weekend. So we've got, oh, that's just beautiful combo.
It's unusual to have sunshine on a bank holiday.
It really is. I've got my fingers crossed. Honestly, I don't quite believe it. I'm not going to go with it until I see it myself, but I've got my fingers crossed.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, beautiful to get some sunshine on us whilst we chat today as well, which I absolutely love. But yeah, Ray is here today because she is a spiritual guide and healer, and she reconnects people with their purpose. And I love this. So when I first spoke to Ray, um, I love all that she does anyway, and I can't wait for her to talk to you about it. But this reconnecting with purpose, I feel, is just so very on point right now. I feel like that's where people are at. They're needing that purpose back. So without further ado, I am going to pop it back over to you, Ray, so you can explain exactly who you are and what you do.
Why, thank you very much. So yeah, I help people, I guide people to remember their purpose, their divine presence, the reason why they're here. And quite often that stems back to childhood. Because there are things that when we look back and we see and understand about our childhood, they often give us a little bit idea of purpose. So if we go back to my childhood, I came from a very spiritual background. My mum did palmistry and psychometry. My aunt did tarot. We went to spiritualist churches. My dad was quite happy driving my mum, and obviously with two small children, they had to go along as well. So I grew up in that environment. And I always sort of was aware of things that were going on around, even if I couldn't put my finger on it. I loved some of the things I loved, and I'll come into why this is important. I loved the kaleidoscope.
I
I still love kaleidoscopes
love
now.
a kaleidoscope.
And of course, when you think about it, kaleidoscope is patterns, sacred geometry. I
Mm.
work with angels. It's all sacred geometry. So that was an indication. I loved reading. I mean, I was reading from a very tiny age. I still try and I still try and get through a book a day if I can. So I'm just an avid reader. So I love reading. I loved creating stories and making up plays. Well, what do I do now? I'm a storyteller and I help guide people tell their story. I loved looking at the sky and cloud formations. They always fascinated me. I love looking at the moon, so much that my parents bought me a telescope. Well, with all the work I do, galactic, etc., that's why that came in. And then growing up, although I wasn't really doing much, I dabbled in runes and tarot, occasionally. People knew at school what my mum did. I'd have my classmates cutting off pieces of their hair to give to them, put in an envelope to give to my mum to do some psychometry on. You know, Normally it was things like boyfriends and those kind of things. But even at that young age, I still I was still embraced in it, and I didn't shy away from talking about it. And that got to teenage years, and some of my classmates decided they wanted to do the Ouija board. Now, that's never interested me, that part of it. And I said, no, I'm not interested. And they went, but can you come and make sure we're safe? What do I do now? I hold space for people. So if you start looking back at what you enjoyed doing as a child or what really fascinates you, even maybe dreams you had or the way you created, that can give you an idea of what your purpose is in this lifetime, give you some ideas and some steps to go, oh, okay, maybe I need to look into this a little bit more
Yeah.
because it was already there, but I now just need to tap into that and bring it into the forefront. So I would always say, if you're looking for your purpose, start your childhood, good
Yeah,
or
almost like
bad.
translate what you already kind of know and turn it in. Yeah, I do see what you mean.
Yeah, and you will be amazed about what you actually, when you sit down and you
Yeah.
think about it, you actually do remember. So that's kind of like how you get an idea of your purpose. And I kind of like always knew, um, you know, even in that period, between teenage years and adulthood, where you're out with friends and everything like that. And I wasn't really paying much attention to any of the spiritual side, but it was always still there in the back of my mind. It's always there's always bits and pieces of it. And then I had a card reading. So I had, card readings every now and again. And I had this card reading, and the guy said, I can see you going by yourself on a life changing trip. Well, I had a boyfriend at the time, and it's like, oh, yeah, I'd only ever been on family holidays, to Spain or Greece. I mean, that life changing trip. He said, yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere like Sri Lanka, somewhere like that. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay. So I thought, okay, let me just have a look. So obviously, internet was fairly newish then. You can tell how far back we're going, given my age away here. And the Lonely Planet was the major
Yeah. Yeah.
travel
Yeah.
travel thing at the time. So I went online to their website and thought I'd look up Sri Lanka, see what it's about. Obviously I'd heard about it's a very spiritual place already, which I think is why I mentioned it. Anyway, I went on to the Lonely Planet guide, and they literally on their homepage they were doing an article on Peru. So I read this article, didn't get to Sri Lanka, thought Peru sounds quite nice, didn't think anything more of it. Then a little while later, I turned on the TV, and there was a Stephen Fry documentary on Peruvian bears. Now, because obviously of my background and being aware, it's kind of like, ooh, card reading, Lonely Planet, this TV program, maybe prove something. So I sent off for some brochures because if I was going to do it, then I wanted to do it properly. But I didn't want to go traveling by just turn up and go round. I still need that little bit of comfort. So I was looking at solo traveling. Anyway, these brochures came back, and I'm looking at going, not going to be able to afford this. It's not cheap to get there. But, they're there. If I'm meant to go, I'll go. And then a little while later, I had to change my mortgages over. Your mortgage comes to an end and you have to redo. And I was moving to the lender, and there was a mix up. So they gave me some compensation, which was the exact amount of one of these trips, exact amount. So it's like, okay, I need to book this. And the 11 other people that were in my original group, we just all clicked. It was like we had known each other for years. I mean, and there was Australians, Canadians, Americans, other English, Europeans, but we just all clicked. And in fact, our guide said, um, uh, when because we did the 4-day Inca Trail on the second day, which is the hardest, where you're literally going vertical, he said, we're the only group he knows that actually stayed at the top and waited for all the rest of our group to come up before we went to the tea tent. He said, because
Wow.
in all the years he'd been doing it, because most people, they got to the top because it was such a hard
Yeah.
climb, and they went straight to the tea tent. He said, but you were the only group that actually stayed and were encouraging everyone to come up. And it was life changing. I mean, there were so many different things that happened, but the main one was when we did the Inca Trail. And on the fourth day, you get up really early, do a bit more climbing to look out over Machu Picchu. And obviously, the sun comes up every day, because the sun does, but it doesn't always go through the exact point of the sun gate. And it has that perfect thing. we got it. And in fact, there must have been 100 odd people up there, including small children. You could have heard a pin drop. It was
Wow.
that amazing.
Yeah, no, I can
A
imagine.
Oh, yeah, and our guide said in the 7, 8 years he'd been doing it, he'd only ever seen it come through perfectly about 3 or 4 times.
Imagine what that looked like to those kids.
Mm.
That they're still really open and they're just still really intuitive and in touch with all of that. Imagine what that must have looked like to them, like the awe. Can you imagine?
I know, if it's amazing for
Yeah.
us as adults, what it must have been like for them. And then when we were walking around Machu Picchu, I actually stood on one of the platforms, and as I looked down, I was transported back in time. It was only a few seconds, but I was actually addressing I was a priest, and I was addressing Incan people below me.
Wow.
A few seconds, that's all it was, but it was like, wow. And then, as I said, there were various other bits that happened. Then when I came back to the UK, I came back in the October. So as you know, gets dark really early. So I was sitting in the office. It was dark about 3 o'clock outside. It was raining. It was stormy. It was horrible weather. And I thought, I would rather be outside than sitting in front of this computer. And that's when, things started changing, and, jobs, and, and things just started going on from there. So by listening to the nuggets I was given and following the synchronicities, that took me to a place that made a difference in my life. So again, it's like, look out for synchronicities that are happening in your life. There are synchronicities happening all the time. Our life is being guided all the time. We just don't notice it. So, one thing to remember if you're looking for, where you're going in your life, look for the synchronicities, be aware of them, Oh, do you suddenly see lots of feathers? Do you see lots of kinds? Is that robin keep putting on you? Do you keep hearing the same song? Did someone mention something and then 2 days later you saw something that was similar? Maybe I'm meant to be looking into this. Maybe I'm meant to be following this. So, look for the synchronicities.
I
Be
love synchronicities. I did a whole podcast episode about it because I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I think it is the most amazing and really affirming thing that when you follow them, it leads you to things that are just incredible. I think one of my most favorite ones recently was I keep hearing the song Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield. Not unusual. I sing it with my band, so it does kind of come up on my playlist. I think I've got it set on a playlist for one of my alarms, so it kind of comes up for that as well. So it wasn't unusual that I was hearing this song, but I do love the words behind it. It has this blank page, and you're going to write your blank page however you see fit. It's wonderful. The rest is still unwritten. You still got miles to go. Decide what you want to do, kind of thing. I love it. Um, and then I was just scrolling one night on Facebook, and a reel came up, and it was like an intuitive guide lady, and she just turned around and she said, "Stop scrolling." So you do, you kind of go, okay. So I stopped. Like, what have you got to say? And she said, for those that are seeing this, you need to listen out for this song. When you hear this song, know that this message is for you. And she played Unwritten, and you don't go, no, like, how? No, you couldn't actually. You couldn't write that stuff on purpose, could you? Do you know what I mean? Like that, you look at that, you go, that is universal, man. Like, there's no avoiding it.
Yeah, there is, and signs and synchronicities are there all the time. We just have to stop being so busy and actually noticing them, which is really difficult, with everything that's going on and everything you're bombarded with. I mean, I switched off the news years ago. I have a basic idea about what's going on in the world, etc. But it's it's there. It's in the it's not what I'm dealing with. It's not in my world, and I stay in my world. And by staying in my world, I connect with people, like-minded people, the people that resonate. So I'm not affected by, or should not affected. I'm not distracted. That's
Yes.
all the stuff that comes in, all the news, everything you're bombarded with is to keep you live in fear and to distract you from staying on your path and, looking and noticing those synchronicities that will make your life better, will help you fulfill your purpose in this lifetime. So
Yeah.
again, if you want to find your purpose, you want to be on that spiritual path, switch off the media.
Yep, 6 years ago. So I still have Facebook because I've got businesses. So I
Yep.
run it through, through Facebook, and that's fine. But 6 years ago in lockdown, couldn't cope anymore with how much we were being fed. Our brains, they're not attuned to be able to receive this amount of information and data. And I just felt my whole body crumbling underneath it. 6 years, I could not agree more. I know what's going on in the world. I've got family and my husband. They all listen to the news and watch the news and read the news. So if I know when something big's gonna happen, if something big's gonna happen, because they know. And for me, that's enough. I don't need to read the rest. It
No.
sounds quite ignorant, but it's almost like choosing it. I choose to put myself into this bubble to protect my peace, my mind, and yeah, to be more open, to hear, to notice. It's
Yeah.
wonderful advice. Best thing I ever realized to do.
Yeah, it totally is, and when you do that, you also find it easier to connect with the, other realms as well. When obviously, as you can see, I've got angel wings behind me. I love working with angels. Angels are the basic, the main, my basic core. I don't remember them from my childhood. They were probably there. Well, they were there. I'm greedy. I've got two guardian angels that were angels because again, we have, it's a guardian angel, an actual angel, or a departed loved one. You can have both, but
Yep.
an angel that's been with you since birth has never had a human life. And I'm a little bit greedy and I've got two. But if you want to find out the name of your guardian angel, it is so, so easy. And in fact, you can do it if you want to find the name of a spirit, if you've got a spirit guide or an animal guide. And that is literally before you go to sleep, you're nice and relaxed, just say, my guardian angel, I would love to get to know you more. Please, can you give me a name? And the first name that comes into your mind then, you dream about, or when you first wake up, or a name flashes at you when you turn on the TV or something, that is going to be your guardian angel's name. Now, it could be something exotic like Gradriel or Ethereella or something like that, or it could just be plain Fred. I know. One of my one of my clients, she's got a guardian angel called Fred. They will give you a name that's easy for you to understand,
Yeah.
and you
No
don't need.
judgment.
Yeah,
We're not judging you, angels. You can be called whatever you want.
exactly, because really angels don't have a name, you know. They're an archetype. We kind of like have given them names, and obviously we have the archangels
Yeah.
for us people to make sense of. Because even if you were to look at, and I'll use the analogy because she was still doing it when I was doing it, when I started, Dinah Cooper and uh, Doreen Virtue. Okay, if you look at their works, what they've written, even if you were to add Carl Gray to the mix, etc., you would notice that their description, their way of working is slightly different for each. So say like Archangel Michael, Doreen Virtue will have a version, Diana Cooper have a version, Carl Gray have a version, because archangels are, like most things, they're archetypes. And an archetype is, for those that aren't aware, is something that can be used for many things. So if you think of a round sphere, that's an archetype. But that sphere could be used for a cannonball, or it could be used for a golf ball or a football. But it's just an archetype. So angels really are, and archangels are really archetypes. So they don't really have a specific name, but it makes it easier for us to connect with them because that's how we, as in our human body, we exist through names and labels,
Yeah.
which, you know, when you look at labels, yeah, you shouldn't really, but we do like names, and it's much easier to say "Good morning, Fred" than it is "Good morning, my guardian angel." You know, so once you get a name, and even if you don't get a name immediately, start developing the communication. "Good morning, Fred, my guardian angel. How are you today?" Um, Thank you, Fred, my guardian angel, for finding me the most perfect parking space. I love using angels for parking spaces. Absolutely.
I use
Abso-
Reiki for
yeah. Um, it is, you know, but I'm always guaranteed a parking
yeah,
space. And if I don't get a parking space where I want a parking space, then there'll be a reason, you know, and it could be that I'll come back the next day and that car has been covered in bird muck.
absolutely. Yeah, there's always a purpose to it for sure. My favorite one is Reiki. So I'm a really nervous driver and I can't stand England roundabouts. They're just terrifying. I learned to drive in Cyprus, where, to be honest, you just kind of shoot yourself across a roundabout and hope for the best. And I kind of got used to that. But with England, it's so specific with all these lanes and so many cars, it freaks me out. So I just sit in the car and I do the symbols and I speak out loud and I just speak to everything, including my lineage, get me through this roundabout. And all of a sudden, you find that the traffic just slows and starts flowing behind you. And you're kind of like, okay, I like this. Yeah, you'll keep going, keep going. Get me across every time I hit a roundabout now. You've got the crazy lady in front like doing this. She's driving along, trying to draw symbols on her window screen.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I'm like that with my angels. You know, I always, when I get in my car, thank you in advance, angels, for keeping me and other road users safe and getting me to my destination as safely as possible. So start talking to them every day, and you start building up that relationship with them. And then in those quiet moments, you actually might hear them, you might feel them, you might sense them, or they might give you a sign, you know, that they're there. So pay attention to that once you actually start that connection, because you'll find it'll really enhance your life. And again, finding that time, and I know we would, you know, we say we're so busy, we don't have time for this or that. I don't have time for meditation. Do you use the bathroom? I mean, I know if you've got kids or pets, you know, they do come in, etc. But there are times when you're in there by yourself. Use that time. It only needs a couple of minutes. You know, you're busy working. Go to the bathroom, you know, and just take that 1, 2 minutes just to close your eyes and just breathe and just clear your mind, because those little steps will again help you, you know, find your path, your spirituality, allow you to start hearing those little nudges, those
Yeah.
little whispers that are coming in to guide you on your journey, you know. And if you have to walk to work, you know, you get off the bus or the train and you're walking to work, you know, take your earpods out, you know, notice what's going on, you know, amongst that traffic. Oh, I can hear a bird, you know, because no matter where you are, there are birds, there are
Yeah.
pigeons.
Yeah. Well,
So,
definitely loads of pigeons. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, even if it's really busy with traffic, etc., start listening, and you'll be amazed at what you can actually hear. I mean, we're so distracted. I mean, I see so many people with earpods in, walking on their phones. They're not noticing the world around them. And there is, if you look, there are so many beautiful things. You know, maybe that little flower coming through the crack in the pavement, that cat sitting on the wall cleaning itself, bathed in sunshine. So if you start noticing, you start being intentional, that I'm going to start noticing what's going on around me. That again helps heighten your senses, your idea of your purpose in life, where you're going, you know, bringing your senses online. And if you can get out in nature, anyway, even if it's to a local park, and just sit with your back to a tree, stand by a tree, you know, and then just take the time to breathe and really listen and take notice and sense, use all your senses, We've got the 5 main senses, but we've got so many other senses. Use all of those just to connect with that tree, with what's going on around you, and you'll be amazed at what information you have and how good you feel afterwards.
Definitely. I'm a total nature lover, totally advocate it. Like, it's so necessary. I used to be fine with living in cities, but now I really need to be. I live in a big town, but like it's literally left hand side is all town and buildings, but right hand side we're all greenbelt. It's beautiful. I love it, and I spend most of my time on that side. I don't have to go too far down my road, and I am already amongst trees. Um, and it makes the hugest difference. And I don't think you have to be a very earthy person for it to matter. I know that's what people think, isn't it? I have to be earthy or kind of naturey, or I like being outdoorsy. And it's like, no, actually, it like helps everybody, like everyone. Our bodies react very strongly to being in that.
Yeah,
Very connected, very, very connected. And as you said, it tunes you in, doesn't it? It tunes you out of the bad frequency, and it tunes you into something so much better where you're kind of connecting in with yourself as well.
yeah, exactly. And if you're thinking, yeah, but there's not really any park areas near me or anything, I'm in a high-rise flat. Well, you can still have that connection. One, open your window, look at the sky, watch the clouds, watch the storms. That's a great way of connecting.
Yeah.
I go back to childhood. I loved being, watching storms and watching the clouds and the shapes, formations, and the different. I still love it when I'm driving. I look out and you've got the different colors in the sky. That is a way of connecting as well. So if you can't get to a park or anything like that, you can use the sky
Yeah.
to connect with nature. And, if you want to see how good you are as a healer, because every single one of us can heal. Yes, um, people like me and Bex, we've done training, I do angelic Reiki, Bex does Reiki, so we have that healing, but everybody has the potential for healing. So if you want to try it and you want to bring some nature, start growing some seeds, maybe coriander or basil. And as you're planting them, talk to them, "Oh, you are such a beautiful seed. You are going to grow up so big and strong." And then spend time every day just talking and holding your hands and going, "Oh, you're going to be growing so big and strong. You are so beautiful." And you'll be amazed. In fact, you can do this as an experiment. Have 2 pots, say like basil or coriander, and you plant both. One you pay attention to. I mean, obviously you still water and look after the other one, but one you just talk to. You talk really nicely to. And as you watch them grow, you will see the one that you've been talking to, that you've been sending the healing, the love to, will actually grow quicker and stronger than the one that just grows normally. And it's an experiment you can try yourself, um, which will give you the vindication, show you that you can manifest, you can heal because you're doing it in front of you and it gives you a tangible thing. I'm doing this. It's
Yeah.
not just something that people talk about. I'm doing this. And you get the nature indoors as well.
Yeah. And the thing is it's proven, isn't it? A lot of people, not just gardeners, scientists have actually done this whole experiment with plants and how plants respond to humans, and music and all these wonderful things versus just being, planted and watered and given what it's needed, and that's it. And they flourish. They are so connected to all of that. I absolutely love that plants react to music. You just kind of go, that's
Yeah.
incredible. That's just incredible. Like, wow. But yeah, I mean, bringing outdoors indoors is always a really good one, isn't it? If you can't get out, because there are some people that can't even get
Yeah.
out, so that's fine, but you can bring it in. And I always look for the windows as well, because it's a great way to see what's out there. And there's always birds. You open the window, if you just close your eyes and listen, you can hear the birds somewhere.
Yeah. And it's great, listening to the wind as well. We had hailstones the other day.
Didn't we just?
Yeah. Luckily I was indoors at the time,
Oh,
but, just watching and listening to them coming down. Again, you can use that to help you get into a meditative state. Listen to the wind. I find it hard to meditate. Listen to the wind. And just allow that to sort of like sway and guide you. And meditation isn't about just sitting there and clearing your mind and getting to that heightened state where nothing comes in. Life isn't like that unless you're a Buddhist monk. That's not gonna happen in this day and age. We don't have the time to spend hours and hours and hours. So, if you're trying going, "Well, I can't really meditate," don't sort of like give up. Do it in short spurts. Use guided meditation. Guided meditation is a great starter if you wanna get into meditation, because as soon as the journey starts, it gives your left side of your brain something to do, which allows the right side of your brain to open up to those spiritual sentences. So, if you want to do meditation, you're thinking, look, I can't sit in the garden and clear my mind. I can't do the breathing. Listen to a guided meditation, because you will find that will either put you to sleep or take you on a journey.
No, you're
But,
speaking my language here, honestly. I can't do the clear your mind meditation. My mind is manic, and it's like, "Oh, okay, no, I can't." But then I found guided meditation. So I always say to people, there is no right or wrong. Like, what we imagine meditation to be with nirvana, enlightenment, it's not always going to be like that. I'm not saying you can't achieve it. I'm just saying that, we are very distracted and noisy and loud, and we do live down here in this life. That I find guided as a really great way. As you said, it distracts. I'm too busy listening, and the rest of my mind does go quiet. And you kind of look back afterwards and you go, "Oh, it did. It did go quiet. I didn't think anything."
yeah, exactly,
It's
and
brilliant.
yeah, and I do guided meditations. I run a monthly online meditation group, and I create guided meditations. And it's amazing. I can do one guided meditation, and everyone in that room will have a different experience
Mm.
depending on how they are. Some people fall asleep, some people will follow the whole journey, some will go somewhere completely different to where I've guided, to where I'm guiding, because they've tapped in to somewhere else, because it's what they need at that moment in time. But if you are going to listen to guided meditations online, then I would suggest actually listening to one before you actually attempt to do it. Because I know, oh, that guided meditation looks good. I sit down and then the voice doesn't resonate with me.
The voice. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It takes a little while to know what you're happy listening to. And it surprised me, actually. I don't know what I was expecting, but yeah, I found that certain accents that I would normally perhaps sort of think, no, I don't really want to listen to that guiding me. I find them so soothing, and you kind of go, oh, I always thought that I'd prefer a female voice. No particular reason. Just always thought that that might be bit more nurturing, maybe a bit more soothing. It turns out, actually, I find the male voice quite soothing. And you go, "Oh, that's I didn't know that was gonna happen." So
Yeah.
you're right. If you don't listen first, you find yourself getting up every 5 minutes having to change it and go, "No, I don't like that one." And you start searching again.
Exactly. So yeah, listen to one before you actually start doing it. But there's loads on YouTube. I've got free ones on YouTube. Insight Timer. I'm creating a bundle specifically now. That'll be a paid for one, but it's not general, and it'll be without ads and free, downloadable, ad free, etc. Which obviously, again, on YouTube, you have to be aware of ads coming in. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
Even, I've got guided meditations on there, and I don't get paid. I don't get paid on YouTube, but people have told me that ads have started appearing in some of my meditations.
Oh, it's just awful, isn't it?
I know, and it's like, I'm not even getting any money for this. Um, so I put them on Insight Timer as well, which obviously is ad free. But yeah, I'm creating my own little bundle of that. So guided meditation again is another, a good way of getting into that state of, okay, relaxation and, what information is going to come to me during this meditation? What am I going to heal from? We're all technically, when we come in here, we're all perfect already. All our what we see as imperfections are not imperfections. We are perfect no matter what's happening to us, how we are physically, mentally, emotionally, which is really hard to get your head round when you see when you see some people, or but it's how we perceive ourselves, how society perceives us. But really, we're all perfectly divine, when we are born and with what we do. So it's remembering that, and it's kind of like healing the aspects that that have been bombarded on us since we were born, since before we were born. If you go back into previous lifetimes, which I absolutely love, I mean, that's where the storyteller, the guide in me comes out when I'm guiding people through past lives or even into future lives. Oh my God, the future is amazing. So anyone watching this, with everything that's going on in the world, don't worry. I've been to the future, other people have been to the future, and the world is fine. We're all still here. Might have been a slightly different form, but we're all still here. We're still going along. Education has changed so much in
It's
the
not a bad thing,
future.
is it?
No,
And it needs to shake up.
the air is
Yeah.
so much cleaner.
Oh,
So
okay.
and that is the one factor that every single person that goes into the future says: the air is cleaner and education is so much better. So don't worry about the future, but going back into past lives can heal things that are going on in your current lifetime,
Mm.
which you may not understand, but it may be not what you think it is. What you think, oh, maybe in a past life I was starved. I'm quite overweight now. I just see I've obviously starved in a previous lifetime. No, one of my clients actually in a previous lifetime, she was actually quite wealthy, but she procrastinated. Well, when she died, because I take people to the point of death and in between, and they look back, her biggest regret in life was she hadn't made anything of herself. She led a very sedentary lifestyle, which translated into what she was doing now. There were things she wanted to do, but rather than doing it, she'd sit down and have a biscuit, couple of biscuits, do it later. And once she'd understood that, and like she stopped, she actually stopped procrastinating. She actually started doing it, and she now does tarot. So what you think might have happened in a past life doesn't necessarily equate to what is happening now. But then, you could have an ache. Like I had a client who always had a pain in in the side of their stomach. Went to a past life. They'd been shot there, and they died. They'd gone back. They looked at that. They healed from that. Came back. That pain's no longer there anymore. So the past can help reveal things that we need to heal now, but it also can help reveal hidden talents. So if a past life and it turns out you were a witch, that's a lot of women, we have that witch wound because there were so many women and some men that were persecuted. Well, if that's the case, then you go back, you heal that. What were you doing? Were you working with herbs? What work were you doing? Because if you were able to do that then, you've still got the memory of that. So we bring that memory back into the present. So you can bring those gifts, talents you've had in past lives, or from your childhood, and you bring them into your current life. So you start creating the life that you want now. You understand your purpose, where you're going in life, and if you go into the future, you can see talents and gifts that you might have in the future that actually what you think is just a normal thing now in the future is actually a talent that you could actually hone into now, which will give you that better future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love time traveling, going forwards and backwards in time, because again, that's part of my storytelling, my guide. that I love doing. So, if you've got stuff going on, then look at your past, look
Yeah.
at your future, because they could hold the answers for you.
There's such a beautiful correlation all the way through as well, isn't there? Just this total intertwined connectivity that even if none of this is your thing, your bag, and you're not really into it, you cannot deny how intertwined it all is. It's impossible to sit there and say, "Oh, it's all coincidental." It's not. This beautiful weaving. Um, it obviously has to go through to our future, doesn't it? It does. Everything that we're making decisions on today has an effect later. Likewise, when we were kids, we didn't know we were making those choices, but we did. And that affects today. And I've always been fascinated with past life regression because I think it tells you so much about yourself. And as you said, all you hear, funnily enough, for someone that's so fascinated, I've never had it done. I really, really want to get it done. But all I hear is wonderful stories of people, exactly as you said. They had a pain here. It turns out it's because of this. And some of them are obvious, like, oh, they died with a wound there or whatever. But some of them, one was, she always had a cough. And it turns out she was silent. She was mute. I think she was maybe not mute, maybe she was either which way, something around here was actually physically silenced in her in a past life. And you look and think that's incredible because once you know, the healing process begins and it opens up all the new possibilities here. I love the connectivity of it all. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. Well, as you said earlier, divine. It's all divine. It's just wonderful.
Oh, divine, the universe has got our back, even even if we don't think it hasn't, and, paying attention to going back to the synchronicities, the signs. I've had a blessed life. I never had the dark night of the soul that a lot of people have had. And in fact, I had imposter syndrome years and years ago because it's like, how can I be spiritual? Because I've not been on the floor crying and screaming, oh my God, help me, help me. I've had a really nice, really nice life. My dad passed when I was younger, but nothing too traumatic, stressful. Um, and then I realized that I've had over 300 past lives. So I've been through all of that, murdered, killed, you name it, the whole gambit. I've done it in all my previous lifetimes. So this lifetime wasn't for me to experience all of that because that's not what I'm here for. This is my last incarnation on earth. And my role here is to have as easiest time as possible to be able to help other people. But, wasn't listening to some signs. And end of 2022, I literally had the rug pulled out from under my feet. I mean, literally. And it was like, I went through all the anger, the crying, I went through the whole gambit that you go through when suddenly everything you thought isn't there anymore. But, because of my background, it's kind of like, I gave myself the weekend, had a pity party. Okay, this all happened. And then it's like, okay, let me look at the bird's eye view of this. Why has this happened? And when I looked, there were little signs. So basically the universe was saying, you've not been listening. So we are going to make sure that you are now going to do it because you've been ignoring us. We're stepping in to say, okay, we're doing this. But to do that, we've got to get rid of this. You need to get rid of this for you to be able to move forward. And when you actually look at it like from that bird's eye view, it makes sense, and you can see where things were that were in place that you could have got out of that situation before it came to that rug being pulled out from under your feet. And again, I was lucky in the fact that I'm in this sphere, so I've created a community around me, friends and peers. So I had, all that help there, that guidance, people that would support me, do past life with me, do the healing, etc. So creating a community around you is also a very good thing. And so try and create those communities sooner rather than later. I'm not saying that everyone is going to have the rug pulled out from under their feet, and I had to have it because I wasn't listening to the guidance I was given, but also because that was taking me on another step on my spiritual journey to be able to assist people that have had the rug pulled out from under their feet. Because if I
Yeah.
hadn't experienced it in this lifetime, then I wouldn't have been able to be of service to people that have gone through it. But throughout all of it, it is the community, and we are not meant to be lone wolves now. We are meant to work with other people, to be in those communities, have that support network around us. Even if it's just one person, a close friend, even if it's someone on the other side of the world that you can connect with via the internet. We need to start having these people around us, and we need to consciously start creating these communities of like-minded people. And with the internet nowadays, it's so much easier
Makes
to
it
to
so much
find
easier. Yeah.
to find people. But obviously go with your own discernment. Does it feel right being with these people? Because sometimes, you can see these communities and it looks good, it sounds good, and you're in, but you're kind of like, I'm not sure, but you stay. If you get that, not sure, doesn't leave, find somewhere different. Because when you find the right community, you are like,
Mm.
I can breathe, I can be myself, I can truly express who I am, and I know I've got the support, around me. I've never, as I was saying, to circle it back to the beginning, I've never been shy of talking about the spiritual side, angels, unicorns, you name it. I will talk about it anywhere and everywhere, and I don't really care. Someone rolls their eyes at me, yeah, I really don't care. I'm still talking about it. And in those spaces, those communities we create, I have my Angel Wings membership where we create that community. You can be yourself, you can speak openly. And if you can start speaking openly in those small groups, you can start speaking openly towards your friends, your family. And as you start doing that, your energy starts changing and you start creating that ripple effect that starts bringing people onto their spiritual journey. So you can be that catalyst when you start going into your purpose, who you truly are, to start talking about it, finding that community, start looking at those synchronicities, start allowing yourself to grow spiritually, then it starts affecting the people around you. Yes, some may go, but others will get that small inclination and go, oh, even if they're not aware of it, and that will change them, that will change their energy, which then goes on to change someone else's energy, which then we start creating this beautiful world of unconditional love, peace, and all moving forward because of that one decision you made to actually go within, find your own divine uniqueness, your own divine presence. Remember who you truly are and start weaving and building that. And you will start creating the most beautiful community, part of that collective consciousness that will build the world up to the most wonderful space that we're going to live in the future.
Which is absolutely just wonderful. It's like mesmerizing listening to you actually say all that. Because I like to, not always, obviously we all have our days, but I like to imagine myself as I stand, that I create around me a nice circle out. My aura goes out further and my aura is light. And, you know, as I walk, if you walk in my zone, hopefully you will feel my light and that will affect yours. My light might clear your aura a little bit and so on. And then you spread out. And that's how I like to see it, is if more of us do that, eventually there is connectivity there where there's almost no way to get around it. You are just smothered in this beautiful love light energy from others. And I love the ripple effect. I love the prospect that you could just say one thing and it can mean so much to someone. It can resonate so strongly with them, make them look at things differently. And, absolutely love that. And I think this is what I love about the podcast so much, is how much maybe our conversation may be for not that person, not that person, but this person right here is going to look at it, listen to it, and they're going to just run with that. Oh, this person's going to listen and kind of go, oh, I'm curious, but that's for later, and I love the variety of people tuning into this stuff, all this wonderful information that's available from people like yourself, because it touches someone somewhere, doesn't it? And yeah, it's just, again, we're back to connectivity, aren't we? Yeah,
Yeah,
divine connectivity, just
exactly.
absolutely fabulous. Honestly, I could listen to you for hours. Honestly, I could just listen to you talk about it for absolutely ages. You've got such like a lovely presence about you. Your knowledge is, well, it knows no bounds. So yeah,
It's all divine guidance.
absolutely. And you've been at it forever. Do you know what I mean? You really have. I mean, 300 lifetimes, you said, didn't you?
But yeah, 300 plus previous lifetimes.
Wow.
Yeah,
And do you
yeah,
know what sort of span that's across, like time wise? Do you know what that spans across?
since beginning of time.
Oh, wow. Like
Yeah,
all the way back.
all the way back, which is why, this is my last
Um,
incarnation on Earth now because it's time for me to go for a rest. But I've got to finish. But I've got to finish what I've started in this lifetime. So the chances are I will be living till I'm about 100 years old because I've got so much work to do. And then because I've actually been into my next lifetime and I literally am back as part of the universe. I mean, I can't explain the emotions, the feelings. It was just it was just so amazing that I want to be there, but obviously I've got work to do before I can get there.
which again is just such a beautiful thought. I saw the other day the most amazing video that someone had heard that trees are just an incarnation when someone needs to rest, where they've done enough for a while or amount of lifetimes, and that they're going to be a tree for 100 years or so, maybe more. And you can't almost look at them the same way, the way that they lean, the way that they grow. And you sort of imagine that's an incarnation of, you know, a tired soul that just needs to rest for a little bit and it will carry on its work when it's done. You kind of look at these trees and go, holy crap, is that what you're here for? That's amazing.
Well, one of my past lives, I was a tree.
There you go. There you go. I mean, that in itself can be such a long time, can't it? I mean,
Yeah.
trees are incredible. They're just, they're there for so long that, wow, just absolutely wow. But yeah, I mean, past life regression, I think it's slowly coming up my list in sort of like necessary things. So yes, you've got all your standard bits that I feel are very necessary for you on your whatever your journey looks like. It doesn't have to necessarily be your spiritual one or your healing one, but whatever your journey looks like, there are certain things I feel that we need as people in this world. And past life is very much coming up the ranks for me because I feel it does it gives you a potentially visual image of sort of like a map of where you were, where you are, where you could be, and why all of that means something to what on earth is going on with us right now.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it
It's a roadmap.
yeah, literally a roadmap. It was making me just think of things like human design, where you've got that energetic roadmap, a blueprint sort of thing, and then you've got
Yeah.
this as sort of like a spiritual lifespan, as you said, purpose roadmap. Stick all these things together. Honestly, we could come with a guidebook in in the future, couldn't we? We could actually be born with a guidebook.
Yeah, exactly. We're our own guidebook.
Won't we all say we don't come with a manual, but we could in the future at some point. We might collect enough data to be able to start making manuals for the babies.
Now that would be interesting.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
Tune in and let me know if you kind of pick anything up there, and we might have to start making plans. Oh my God. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on today. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you.
Thank
And
you.
as always, I'm going to put all of Ray's information. I've got lovely links for her. She has got this membership. And I do believe you also gave me a link for a lovely free gift for everybody, didn't you? To sort of get them started on their journey, which is
Yeah.
lovely. So I'm going to pop all of that into the comment section of the YouTube video and the bio of every other aspect that this goes out to. So you can reach out to her if you want to speak to her directly or join a community or just take up the beautiful offer of a free gift to see where it takes you. Because who knows? Who knows where it
Who
could take
knows?
you?
Who knows where it will take you? But just know, that the angel's always with you, and you have the power to take charge of your destiny.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Perfect line to end on as well. That's like a beautiful little tagline right there.
It is.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much for coming on. It was a real
Uh,
pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been absolutely, absolutely wonderful. Thank you for giving me this space.
Thank you very much. And to everybody else out there, thank you for joining us today. And until next time, take care.
Bye.